Dummies YouTube channel. On this episode we will be reviewing and painting up the Night of the Living Dead figure set available from We Make Monsters on Patreon. A link will be in the description below. All the figures on the table were designed and digitally sculpted by Maestro Pablo Valenzuela from Chile, and may I say he's done a wonderful job. So first up, each figure comes with its own individual display base. These I have printed on my Ender CR10 Smart Pro, a great machine. Doing the bases in FDM gives them a nice little bit of weight, and I don't think you can really see any layer lines from the sample. I've already painted this one up, and as you can see, I've got a base of black, a nice light grey highlight behind the nameplate, which I then brought out the letters in bright green, and then just a 30% grey colour on the plinths. I think it should end up a nice effect with the figures on top. As for the figures themselves, first we have the Cemetery Zombie, which comes in legs, torso, arms and head. Pablo has done a really great job of catching the likeness on Bill Heinzman. Then we have Alice, who I printed in 7 pieces. She comes in torso, head, 2 legs, 2 arms, one with the zombie bite bandage, and trowel connected to her hands. Third, we have Ben, who again is printed in 5 pieces, and again we have legs, torso, head, and 2 arms, complete with nut wrench. And last but not least, we have Dear Barbara, who comes in torso, head, 2 arms with one with a knife, and her stockinged shoeless feet. It'd be interesting to try and paint a stocking effect in grayscale colours. For the actual colours, we've got 2 sets of paints. We have the Black Heart Models black and white set, which I believe was made for them by Badger. These were sent to me by a good friend in America to try out over a year ago, and I haven't tried them yet, so hopefully they will do the job. We have white, white grey light, grey, grey white dark, dark grey, and black. We will also be using this, if I move his body, we will also be using this set of ComArt Photo Greys, which I've used before, and they are a great paint, they airbrush beautifully. And for these we have white, 10% grey, 20% grey, 30% grey, 40% grey, 50% grey, 60% grey, and the black. We also have a warm additive, which I will be using on some parts to give a slight sepia tone to the grey colour. All the resin figures were printed on my Elegoo Saturn II 8K printer, which I must say is a beautiful machine. So what we will do is I will take all the parts, I will prime them, assemble them, do any putty work on any seams, and then I will be right back and we will go through the paint up process. We assembled Barbara with her torso and her arms with just a minor bit of putty work round the shoulders, So she's ready for painting. She is now torso, head and 2 legs. Then we have Karen, who I believed I called Alice in the first part of this video, Alice Cooper. So Alice, we have her body, we have assembled the trowel and hands to her arms and give them a good sand down so you can't really see any joins. I'm going to try to assemble these after painting. Hopefully the joints might need a little bit of touch up, maybe not. But it'll be easier for me to paint the skin tones while it's like this. She is torso, arms, head now and her legs. Next we have the cemetery zombie. Again we assembled his arms, put it in round the joins, give him a good coat of primer, and he's looking pretty good and tidy for painting. He is now 3 pieces with torso, body and head. And finally we have Ben. Again, we assembled his arms to his torso, give him a good coat of primer, and he's ready. And he is again 3 pieces with body, legs and head. For priming, I just use a simple acrylic grey primer. This is a Thai brand, but these can be brought, you know, any shop, Krylon, whatever. So pretty easy. Okay. So the plan is now to move on over to the airbrush station. I'll start with the flesh tones and I'll be back when they're done to explain how I did it. The heads are painted. For the 2 zombies, I started with Blackheart Models Grey White, where I've done a full coat. I then mixed the grey white 50-50 with normal white for another full coat. I then went for some shading with the Blackheart Models Grey, where I went under the eyes, under the cheekbones, under the chin, and a little line under the forehead on both figures. Then, to highlight, at an angle like this, I added a few drops of the grey white to white and just gently airbrushed down, catching the top of the forehead, the bridge of the nose, the cheekbones, and then tilted it slightly to catch the chin. I did this on both the cemetery zombie and Karen. For the hair, I used Comart 30% grey, waited until it dried, then dry brushed it in various lighter shades of grey with a touch of white in certain areas. For the eyes, I painted a black circle, went in with a Vallejo London Grey, put a black pupil, and then just slightly went round the pupil with Vallejo Light Grey. I then added a little white dot to try and give the light reflection effect. For Ben, I've done a base coat of Blackheart Dark Grey before going in with a 60% Comart Grey in the shadows, again under the eyes, around the forehead. For highlighting, I used a 20% Comart Grey and again came down at an angle to catch the forehead, the bridge of the nose, the chin and the cheekbones. The hair I painted black and dry brushed with a darker I think it was Vallejo dark grey. For the eyes again, black circles, pupil, bit of neutral grey around the black circle, bit of neutral grey inside the black circle, black pupil, and then just a lighter grey to try and give it some life. For Barbara, I base coated with a mix of Comat white and 10% grey. I then went back with the 10% grey alone, just for the shadows. And again, for the highlights, I came at the same angle with just Comat white on its own. For the hair, I used Comat 10% grey and then dry brushing it. It's the first time I've ever tried the blonde hair in a black and white effect, so I'm not sure how it's come out until I assemble the whole model. I then went on to Barbara's coat, for which I just used white with a touch of black heart grey. I then went in with the 30% Comat grey for the shading. Once the shading was dry, I dry brushed everything with a pure white. I'm not sure how this has come out really, to be honest, until I assemble the figure. You know, so but we'll see. For the skin tones, I use the same process as for the faces, but I broke the knife, so I'm going to have to do a bit of glue and touch-up work when I assemble this. For the cemetery zombie, I first used black heart grey white for his shirt, with a little bit of shading with 20% Comat grey, and then just a very slight white highlight to dry brush. His clothes were painted in black heart pure black, and then dry brush with Vallejo London grey. The flesh tones were done again the same as the face. So that's where we're up to now. The next plan is to finish up airbrushing Karen and Ben for the clothing, and then we'll think about assembling them together. Okay, we've completed Ben and Karen Cooper. For Ben, I used a Vallejo dead white with a touch of Vallejo wolf grey for the base coat on his cardigan, and then shaded in the shadows and recesses with Comat 20% grey. I then went over with the Vallejo dead white for a light dry brushing. His tyre iron I painted black and just dry brushed with Vallejo gunmetal, and his shirt I mixed Comat white with a little bit of 10% grey just to take the whiteness off, and then shaded it with a 10% grey. His trousers I base coated completely with Vallejo 40% grey, went in the shadows with the airbrush with a 60% grey, and then highlighted with a 10% grey. I didn't do no dry brushing on Ben's trousers. I wanted to keep it a nice clean look. For his shoes I just went in with Comat 60% grey and then a Vallejo dark grey wash. For Karen, I base coated with a 20% grey, into the shadows with a 40% Comat grey, and then highlighted with the 10% grey. I then dry brushed the whole dress with off-white to bring out the pattern. For the white parts, I just used an off-white, the same as I used for Ben's shirt. Her stockings, I painted the same flesh coat as I did for her face and then just misted a 30% grey over them. Her shoes, I painted a 60% grey with Vallejo silver buckles. All the bases are now done with the same procedure as I told you at the beginning of the video, with a base coat of flat black, 10% grey highlight around the nameplate, and then the lime green to bring out the name. and then the edging done in ComArt 30% grey. So that's pretty much the painting done. So what we'll do now is we'll go to assembly, we'll assemble them all up, put them on their bases, come back and do a final review. I've glued them all together, put them on their bases, and they look pretty impressive in person. I think the black and white paint effect really sticks to the figures. I may have to go back in and tweak Barbara a bit because I think I've gone a bit too deep on the shadows on her coat. And of course I broke the knife, so I will have to look at that. The tallest piece is Ben, and he stands around 15 inches tall on his base. Pablo did a really great job of the sculpts, and the only putty work needed mainly was just around the shoulders, but that blended in seamlessly, I think. This was one of my first YouTube videos, so I hope the quality hasn't been too bad, as I've only got my smartphone camera to use at the moment. But as the journey continues, hopefully in the new year I can get a camera and see if I can improve the videos. Thank you for watching, and if you would like to continue the journey with the Distinctive Dummies YouTube channel, then please hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you soon.